Yeah, I got Bel Air and Physical.
In February 2023, in the heart of the Sam Houston National Forest, a discovery was made that would forever change the lives of a grieving family. Among the tall, silent trees, an unthinkable scene unfolded. There, half hidden beneath a pile of debris, lay the remains of a woman. The torn remnants of a body, abandoned like forgotten trash. As investigators carefully uncovered the skeletal remains, they realized this was no ordinary discovery. It was the body of a young woman, Felicia Marie Johnson, a daughter, a sister, and a dreamer, whose life had been stolen far too soon. Felicia had disappeared nearly a year earlier, on April 13, 2022, leaving her family in a state of dread and confusion. For months, they searched, their hopes slowly fading, their lives put on hold. What followed was a relentless pursuit for answers, an investigation marked by heartbreak, disappointment, and the quiet despair of not knowing what happened to their beloved Felicia. Her tragic story is not just about a woman lost to violence. It's a chilling reminder of betrayal, and a haunting question that remains unanswered to this day: who could do this? Who could end a life so young, so full of potential, with no remorse, no second thought? This is the story of Felicia Johnson, a woman whose hopes were extinguished too early, but whose memory will never fade. A story of a search for justice, of a family left to pick up the pieces, and a dark mystery that still lingers in the air. A story that begins with a shattered dream and ends with an unrelenting fight for justice. This is Felicia's story, one of beauty, ambition, and ultimately, betrayal. Stay with us as we unravel the chilling details of a case that still haunts the hearts of many. Before we dive deeper into today's chilling case, we want to take a moment to engage with you, our viewers. If you find our stories impactful and want to help support the growth of our channel, please take a second to subscribe. Subscribing ensures that you're always updated with our latest content, and it helps us reach a larger audience, allowing us to continue bringing you fresh crime stories and detailed analyses every day. We genuinely value your thoughts, so feel free to leave your comments below. Share your views on this case, and don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. It's always fascinating to see how far our stories reach. By liking, sharing, and commenting on our videos, you play an essential role in expanding this community and raising awareness. Your participation makes a difference. Thank you for being part of this journey. Now, let's continue with the story. Felicia Marie Johnson, a 24-year-old woman from San Diego, California, was full of dreams and aspirations. She was a young woman with a bright future, known for her stunning beauty, radiant confidence, and infectious kindness. As the eldest of 3 siblings, Felicia had always been a pillar of strength for her family. Her parents had separated when she was young, and she found herself stepping into a role far beyond her years, taking care of her siblings and ensuring they all stayed on track despite the challenges life threw at them. Despite the weight of responsibility, Felicia never let go of her own dreams. She longed to become a model, to share her unique beauty with the world, and to build a life for herself that reflected her hard work and dedication. From a young age, she knew her looks had the power to open doors, and she meticulously cared for her appearance, knowing it was her ticket to the future she envisioned. But it wasn't just her beauty that defined Felicia. Those who knew her described her as a warm, genuine soul, always ready with a smile and a kind word. She carried herself with an infectious energy that left an impression on everyone she met. As Felicia entered adulthood, her dreams of modeling didn't materialize as quickly as she had hoped. But like everything else in her life, she refused to give up. She kept pushing forward, focused on her vision and determined to make it a reality. After celebrating her 24th birthday surrounded by friends and family in San Diego, Felicia made the decision to treat herself. She was ready to escape the routine for a while and soak up new experiences. Houston was the destination she chose, a place she hoped might offer new opportunities, new adventures, and maybe even a fresh start. Excited and full of anticipation, Felicia spent days packing, carefully selecting outfits for her trip, planning every detail, and sharing it all on her social media. She updated her friends and family with every step, posting about her excitement and the places she'd visit, letting them know she was about to embark on a journey to make the most of her birthday celebrations. But none of them could have known that the Houston trip would mark the beginning of a nightmare. A journey meant for joy and adventure would soon turn into something unimaginable, and a life full of potential would be snatched away in an instant. Little did anyone know, this trip would be Felicia's last. April 13, 2022. The day everything changed. For those closest to Felicia Marie Johnson, it was as if she vanished into thin air. One moment, her vibrant posts and updates painted the picture of a young woman enjoying life in Houston, the next, silence. No more photos. No more texts. No more late-night check-ins with her father, Kevin Johnson. It wasn't like Felicia to disappear. She was known to be responsive, especially when away from home. Her father described her as a constant communicator, always aware of how much her safety meant to him. So when those messages stopped, Kevin's heart sank. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. With the Houston police slow to act, Kevin took swift action. He hired a private investigator and boarded the next available flight to Houston. He wasn't waiting for bureaucracy. His daughter was out there somewhere, and time was slipping away. The private investigator traced Felicia's phone signal to a remote location, Bear Creek Park, a wooded area tucked into the west side of Houston. What they found there was chilling: her phone, blood-stained, discarded by the roadside like it meant nothing. Felicia was officially missing. At this point, Kevin's hope shifted into desperation. He knew he had to make noise. He filed another missing persons report and personally confronted the Houston Police Department. But the response was lukewarm at best. The family began to sense what so many others had already experienced, that when the missing person is a black woman, urgency often takes a back seat. Kevin refused to accept that. He printed flyers. He shared Felicia's image, her warm smile, her bright eyes, her butterfly and rose tattoo, across neighborhoods and local businesses. He described her in detail: Latina, dark-skinned, brown eyes, 5'5", 150 pounds. Search parties were formed. Locals joined in. Volunteers combed through parks and back roads. And still, no sign of Felicia. Then came an even more disturbing revelation. Community activist Quano X stepped forward, raising a red flag. In recent months, multiple dark-skinned women had vanished under eerily similar circumstances, some during escort meetups, some simply without explanation. Many were later found dead. All of them had gone missing while the system looked the other way. Felicia's case wasn't just an isolated tragedy, it was part of a pattern. A crisis. That realization ignited a spark. The media began to take interest. Public pressure mounted. And slowly, the authorities started to move. But for Kevin and those who loved Felicia, it was already too late. Something terrible had happened. And they knew, whoever was responsible, was still out there. As the search for Felicia continued, investigators began to piece together the details of her last known movements. It didn't take long before they discovered Felicia had visited a local club called Cover Girls, located in northwest Houston. She had been hoping to apply for a job as an adult entertainer, but after a brief interview, she was rejected. However, there was something strange about her departure from the club. After being turned away, Felicia didn't just leave the club empty-handed, she ordered a taxi, leaving the club behind and taking the first step into what would become an even darker chapter of her story. That was the last time anyone could track her. Felicia's phone went silent. No more texts. No more social media updates. Her journey into the unknown had begun. As the investigation progressed, detectives discovered something chilling. Felicia had been in contact with a man named Chukwuka Noah, a 28-year-old Nigerian-American based in Houston. Noah was no stranger to the world Felicia had stepped into. He was active in the online escort community, and he had reached out to her with a proposal. The two arranged to meet, agreeing on a fee of $500 for an intimate encounter. After this meeting was set, Felicia's digital trail vanished. Her phone's location pinged briefly, but then the silence was deafening. The investigators soon turned their attention to Noah. They dug into his background and discovered unsettling details. Noah's search history on his phone included disturbing queries about how to destroy evidence, methods for erasing DNA, and even the most wooded areas of Houston where a body could be hidden. These searches were no coincidence. They painted a grim picture of premeditation, of a man planning a crime and seeking ways to cover his tracks. On April 16, 2022, just days after Felicia's disappearance, Chukwuka Noah's movements became even more suspicious. Surveillance footage captured him entering a store and purchasing several items: garbage bags, gloves, a flashlight, a shovel, and an electric kitchen saw. To anyone familiar with such purchases, they painted a chilling picture of what he was preparing for. It was as though Noah had planned every detail of the crime, down to the tools necessary to carry out his dark intentions. Later that evening, Felicia's phone would ping near Bear Creek Park, a wooded and desolate area just outside Houston. Investigators believed Noah had used this remote location to dispose of Felicia's body, likely after he had dismembered her. The methodical nature of his actions pointed to a premeditated crime, a horrifying act of violence meant to silence Felicia permanently. But it didn't end there. Noah's reckless behavior would soon lead him into a dangerous situation. On May 13, 2022, he was pulled over during a routine traffic stop. Authorities found him in possession of incriminating evidence: a pistol, latex gloves, a shovel, and signs of dried blood on his clothing. He was arrested on road-related charges, but despite the damning items in his possession, he was released just hours later. The police lacked the concrete evidence they needed to hold him. But Noah's escape would be short-lived. The investigation continued, and detectives soon uncovered a crucial piece of evidence: a large splatter of blood in Noah's apartment. Forensics confirmed the blood was Felicia's. It was clear that Noah had tried to cover his tracks, but the pieces of the puzzle were beginning to come together. His involvement in Felicia's disappearance was no longer a theory, it was becoming undeniable. Nearly a year after Felicia Johnson's disappearance, a breakthrough in the investigation came from an unlikely place: the vast, quiet expanse of the Sam Houston National Forest. In February 2023, a decomposing body was discovered by a hiker, hidden beneath a pile of brush. As investigators arrived at the scene, they quickly realized this was no ordinary case. The remains were identified as Felicia's, though the discovery was both heartbreaking and haunting. Only the upper part of her torso had been recovered. The rest of her body was either lost to time, or perhaps scattered by those who sought to hide the evidence of their crime. The news struck Felicia's father, Kevin Johnson, like a thunderbolt. For almost a year, he had fought tirelessly to find his daughter, to uncover the truth. Now, he finally had an answer. But it was a bitter one. The relief of knowing his daughter's fate was quickly overshadowed by the pain of knowing that her final moments had been cruel, violent, and far too short. He could never have imagined that he would one day stand at the edge of a forest, holding a piece of his daughter's life in his hands, yet still left with so many unanswered questions. Despite the devastation, Kevin clung to a glimmer of hope. He could at least give Felicia the proper burial she deserved. Thanks to the relentless support of activists like Quantal X and the assistance of local officials, including Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, the Johnson family fought for their daughter's final resting place. Together, they worked to ensure that Felicia, even in death, would be treated with the dignity she had been denied in life. Though the discovery of Felicia's remains brought closure to the search, it didn't erase the pain. For her family, there would always be the empty space where she should have been, a future stolen, and a life taken far too soon. Despite the mounting pressure from authorities and the growing public outcry, Chukwuka Noah remained elusive, a ghost in the shadows. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but he continued to slip through the fingers of law enforcement. Authorities had put out a bounty for any information leading to his capture, but Noah's whereabouts remained unknown, as if he had vanished from the face of the earth. For Kevin Johnson, the pain of not knowing where his daughter's killer was, or if he would ever be caught, was unbearable. His quest for justice had been relentless, and now, more than ever, he was determined to ensure that Noah would face the consequences of his horrific crime. No matter where Noah tried to hide, Kevin vowed to hunt him down, to track him to the ends of the earth, if that was what it took. He knew he couldn't rest until Noah was brought to justice. The thought of the man responsible for his daughter's death still walking free was more than Kevin could bear. His determination became an unshakable promise, to never give up, to never stop searching, no matter how long it took. As the months stretch on, Felicia's case remains a heavy burden on her family, a constant source of pain, heartbreak, and unanswered questions. The haunting image of her last days is seared into their minds, and the knowledge that the man who took her life is still free only amplifies their grief. But more than just seeking justice, one question continues to loom large over this entire case. What drove Chukwuka Noah to commit such a horrific act? Was this a carefully planned murder, a brutal and deliberate act of violence? Or does the evidence point to something far more chilling? Could Noah be a serial killer, someone who had been hiding his darkness beneath a facade for far longer than anyone realized? The truth remains unclear, as Noah's motives and past remain shrouded in mystery. But one thing is certain, Felicia deserves answers, and her family deserves justice. Her life was taken in the cruelest way, and no amount of time or distance will stop those who love her from seeking the truth. The search for Chukwuka Noah continues. If you have any information that could lead to his capture, please come forward. This case is far from over. For Felicia, for her family, and for the pursuit of justice. We will not rest until Noah is held accountable for his crimes, and until the truth is finally revealed. Thank you for joining us in this heartbreaking journey through Felicia's story, a tale of a life cut short, a family torn apart, and the search for justice that continues to this day. If you found this video insightful, and believe in the importance of sharing stories like Felicia's, please consider liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and leaving your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps keep these important conversations going, and together, we can keep fighting for justice. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and always remember, the truth matters.